I'll take the time and say, if we put Bahasa Melayu into Sahabat AI, then we can call it Nusantara AI. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to the event. I think earlier this morning it's been a bit more serious, talking about bias and all of that. But then here, this is time to show off some of the more fun stuff that we've been working on. So basically, really, Prem really puts me through a lot of difficult challenges. And one of those challenges is how to start media from scratch by using AI. And this is one of the questions that Prem has been asking for a very long time. But then I'm not a journalist, you see, I'm an engineer. So I do write a lot, but definitely not in natural language, lots of programming languages. And programmers have been using AI. First of all, software engineers are the people that use AI the most in LLMs in the world right now. And I don't have the perspective of a journalist, so I took the perspective of a programmer and just went with it, right? So again, today we are inventing vibe journalism with a software or a tool that we call Atlas. Atlas is currently being developed in partnership with Tempo, so that they guide us in terms of how to replicate the workflows of a newsroom, and then we try to replicate those workflows using AI, right? Now, first of all, what is vibe journalism? We have to first understand what is vibe coding. So vibe coding has been around for quite some time, which is basically programmers are naturally a bit lazy, okay? So we try to focus on what is the instruction that we want the application or the software to do, and then we ask AI to write the code. And even since 2022, even since ChatGPT first came out, more than 60% of the code that we write is actually using AI, which is much easier, much simpler. We can shift code and software much faster. And that number is probably at about 80% nowadays. So a lot of AI in software development. And vibe coding is basically the idea of building software without worrying about syntax. AI generates codes with using everyday language. So I can go to the AI and say, hey, can you make me an app that does this, does that, and the AI sort of figures out on how to do that. And that has been really cool. So we've been doing that for many, many years now. So now we want to introduce vibe journalism. So basically, how do we then create stories without processing? Journalists can focus on the narrative itself, and AI can do the rest of the stuff. Things like writing and sorting things out and all sorts of other things that probably is a bit more tedious, a bit more repetitive, and so on. Yeah. So the goal with Atlas is really to end-to-end vibe coverage, which is basically to cover from data gathering until researching, and then how to create more information and more journalism, and then after that, how to distribute that. Where's the timer? 4 minutes, wow. Okay, so first of all, information gathering. First of all, Atlas can monitor and gather information from various sources, RSS, web URL, PDF, social media, what have you. This is depending on you. If you have the permission, you can take external data, or you can also just put this as a sidecar next to your CMS and transfer that data over. And that is one way that we can do information gathering. And as the data comes in, Atlas does a few things. So one of those things is actually intelligent sorting. We have 3 ways to sort of data and to sort of identify how to understand the data. Number 1 is actually topic modeling. So basically, we try to analyze the incoming data, how similar are they, and can we perform topic modeling so that we can cluster them into different topics precisely. So if 2 stories sort of look the same, can we take them and then produce one topic out of that? This is something that we couldn't do before LLM, because before LLM, programming was rule-based, but now it can be actually qualitative. Second of all, we also have things like entity recognition. So this is named entity recognition. So for example, if you take a 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit Kochi City on Shikoku, we can now precisely extract those entities. Once you have extracted those entities, we can actually link up. So stories that has, or talking about the same people or organization can be linked together much, much efficiently. And next, we also have auto tagging. So tagging is one of those things that journalists have to do today manually, but then with Atlas, you don't have to do this manually. You can basically type pretty much any arbitrary keyword tag and so on, and Atlas will help you to sort those articles or those information or those content into one place. And you can also do this sort of like in retrospect. Basically, if you already have the content which is perfectly untagged, you can just create a tag, and Atlas will help you to tag them, go back in time and tag everything together. And this doesn't have to be a single keyword tag. You can pretty much be very specific about this, or you can be very arbitrary about this. So for example, I can say, I want to tag all the stories that happen to be about natural disasters in Southeast Asia minus Thailand, for example. You can be very specific about this, and there is a way, and there's an algorithmic way that we do in the back end that allows Atlas to find all those stories. We actually perform full coverage, no matter what the scale is. So even if you have 100, 1 million articles, we can actually do this in retrospect. So 3 ways to first of all sort. So we have gathered, and now we are sorting them into the right places so we can understand a bit better about the content that is inside Atlas. This is an example of how the data looks like once it has been, we have done topic modeling. So first we can see the title of the topic, a bit of a summary, and then there is also, what are the stories that are related to that topic, what are the entities that are involved, and what are the tags that have been tagged to the story. And all of this is done automatically. You could also set like an overall general language that you want to use for Atlas, and Hi. Okay. So basically, you can set a general language, and this doesn't have to be English. This could be any language. Atlas actually supports. You can pretty much just type in the language, and you can do that. Do topic modeling, entity recognition, and all of that summarization in that particular language. So it is language agnostic in that sense. Yep. This is an example of a graph visualization of all the entities that has been automatically linked and how we can perform a bit of a cluster. So this is quite cool for things like research and stuff like that. So right now, in terms of creation, we can create 3 different things. We have Canvas, which allows, is a very powerful text editor that uses AI and the reference materials that you provide, and you can literally create stories within seconds. We have Outlines, which is basically, it creates an outline, and then you can write long form pieces as well. So Tempo has been experimenting this with writing books. So now they can write books within a few minutes based on the We also have an audio engine as well, text-to-speech engine and audio script generator for quick script creation and audio file generation based on the books we wrote or based on the stuff that you wrote using Canvas. This is an example of Canvas where you have all the reference materials up there, and this is basically Canvas, and you have some options to do this. So you can do things like summarizing, you can write the articles, you can translate, bullet point timeline, what have you, all sorts of things, yeah? My time is up, but just give me a second because the mic was off. So this is another screenshot on how you can perform research within your own content within Atlas and then add it to Canvas. This is a screenshot of the script generator that we have. So basically, you put in your reference text, and then you set how many people that are talking in the like podcast or whatever it is, and then we will create the script, and you can also generate the audio. One slide missing, but upcoming features, we have social media ingest, direct social media ingest, dataset ingest, image generation analysis, carousel and video generation, notification and alerts, CMS integrations, social media integrations, rule-based automated generation. These are a few things. My time is up, but if you guys want to know more about Atlas, let me know after this. I can show you guys. Thank you so much.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi. Okay. Just a caveat before I start. Okay, I'm not a technologist. I'm not from the academia. I'm just someone who runs daily operations at a newsroom. Yeah. So prepare for very practical, talk. My topic is how STAR is using AI to enhance archive search. Okay, just to give you a bit of background of the STAR, we are the Malaysia's largest English language publication. We have over about 250,000 copies in print, including e-paper, and 20 million unique visitors to our website, the STAR Online. every month. Okay. So we don't just cover news and politics. We also have specialized content segments for different to cater for different reader interests. So we also have supplements on education, sport, lifestyle, etc. And we are multi-platform. We are not just in print or digital. We also have radio stations. And then we have multiple verticals in Malay and Chinese language, as well as, we have our departments catering for like event, training, and property. Okay. So we are a digital-first company. That means we break news online. And then we are also pivoting to multimedia journalism online as well. Okay, so this is what we are using AI for. We are mainly using AI for image creation, especially and as well as voiceovers for our social media and videos. We are using AI also for transcription as well as translation. These are all different AI tools that we are using, like Canva, ChatGPT, etc. We also use AI to code, but these are mainly for the interactive element in our data and multimedia story. And then we also have AI embedded within our content management service content management systems, which means like for instance, to help us with our headlines, keyword tagging, etc. As well as we are planning to use AI to help with our archived content search as well. I'll talk about this a little bit later. Okay. What we will not use, we will not use AI for content creation. Okay. We will, AI for us is the tool, it's not to use for content creation. Okay, and all AI users in the star are clearly labeled and red flagged to our editors as well, so that we can check against the information that that has been included in. Right. So what our team has been developing this tool together with our collaboration with One Ifra and Phantom. We are developing this tool to help our readers search for articles contextually. Instead of using keywords like when you type in words in Google search, we want to help our readers search for archived content. I'm showing you this. This is our agony aunt articles. They are very popular with our readers because they are very scandalous, actually. Okay. So we have these Dear Thelma articles that date back about 15 years. And it's a weekly column. So there's maybe about 15,000 articles. So usually people will write in and they will ask, like certain questions, and then we will have our team or committee to answer to those questions. But and not everyone will want to write in. Maybe they're shy. So what we want to do, what we did was we used Gemini AI to code this Dear Thelma AI assistant. Okay. So what they do is they will put in, okay, into the first box, okay, generally about the problem they are facing, and then this AI tool will go through all the 15,000 articles we have and pull out those articles that, may represent most of the problems that the readers may be facing. So instead of putting in the words, they will go through the articles. The AI tool will go through the articles for you, and they pull out the articles that may be what you're facing as well. So you don't have to write in to us. Okay. So we have plans to expand these models of this tool, AI tool, for other searches in the star archive content, and we plan to have this for our subscribers. Okay, all right. So this is how it will look like when it's ready. It's not yet rolled out, I'm sorry. So, okay, thank you. Okay.
Hello everyone, good evening. I hope you still have energy left. So, help my slides. So, my name is Arkka. I am from HukumOnline. So, HukumOnline, obviously, Hukum in Indonesian means law. So, our media is really focused, lesser focused for discussing, covering anything about law in Indonesia. Can help the slide? Okay. Yeah. So basically, HukumOnline being founded back in 25 years ago back. So we acquire a number of regulation and etc. from across institution in Indonesia, and then we cover what is this regulation is about, why it matters, what you need to change within your companies to comply with that specific regulation. Next. Yeah. So basically, our vision is to make everyone understand the law. Currently, we are very niche media, I can say, because it only focuses on the legal, but we have around 3 million monthly active users. It's 2024, before the AI overview is coming. So we have more than 1,500 B2B, so almost 99% of our revenue is coming from B2B subscription. So it's kind of like, yeah. So before I start from the solution that we want to, I want to share, I just give you some context, what the problem that we want to solve. So in that sense, we always acknowledge that we're going to be always a legal knowledge gap. It's like the government, when they create a new regulation, they will assume everyone knows the law. So if the government create new regulation 30 minutes ago, and they assuming everyone in this room knows about this regulation, and if you violate any kind of regulation, then there is some sanction and etc. So there is no ignorance of the law, and it's no excuse at all whether you know it or not. So why this has become a problem in Indonesia? Because Indonesia, which follow a civil law, every institution in Indonesia, they can produce their own regulation, basically. Sorry. Okay. So there's around 300,000 regulation from the top level until the local level. And actually there are more than 3,000 new regulation every year. So that's very productive. So we must proud of it. So I was discussed with my colleague in HukumOnline, the more complex regulation, the more regulation, then that means the big opportunity business for HukumOnline. So we have this a lot of regulation with the volume. We have the new regulation, mean the velocity, and also there's a lot of hierarchy from the undang-undang dasar or the law until the lower level in the local. So in the context, my perspective as a computer scientist, this is a big data problem. We have the volume, velocity, and variety. So we need to solve this using a technology. It's not something that we can solve using a conventional approach, basically. Yeah. So HukumOnline, mainly our current database consists of regulation. So we own around 300,000-ish regulation. We have the court decision. We have the legal analysis, legal intelligence. So we build like the derivative, like the abstraction of the regulation. So we know, understanding that our readers might be not have a law background, might be doesn't have any time to read those regulation, but they can read a one-pager or two-pager analysis about the regulation itself. So the idea is when there is a new generative AI, and actually when the OpenAI published their API since 2023 in April, actually, we already have this data being structured, a lot of this knowledge base. We just put the presentation layer, which is using the Allex, we call it AI Lex. So Lex in Latin word means law. So it to help digest all of this knowledge base and help providing answer. And this is the overview of the system. Basically, it's like a ChatGPT, but on the right sidebar, there is the whole reference. Like if you ask for specific question about law in Indonesia, we will provide the specific articles, specific regulation that being used or referred to from the answer itself. So maybe on this specific slide, I just want to emphasize that even this, I can say it's a very, it's not something big that we do, but it really helps how our user consume our information. So previously, as you know, we have a subscription package. Usually, the user only subscribe the medium tier of our package. It's around 3,000 US dollar annually. But then after we introduce this AI, and obviously we put on the highest tier of the package, which is around 5,000 to 5.5 thousand US dollar, and it helped us to upselling to the highest tier. And even the new upcoming customer also opt to use this product. Why? Because it's really solved their pain problem. So previously, if you have a legal research question, you need to incorporate, for example, how to incorporate fintech company in Indonesia. You need to identify the keywords. You need to key in the search engine. You need to read all of the documents, and then you synthesize, summarize, and then you got your answer. But now, you can just provide a semantic question, and the AI will give you a relevant response on it. So it really helps them a lot. So currently in Indonesia, we have a very high prominent case. It's just a weeks ago. So the former Ministry of Trade, which happened coincidentally, is the success campaign for the losing president candidate back then, but there's cases against him, and we just get more than 1,500 pages about this court decision. So it's a lot of things to read, and using this kind of technology, we can help to find what is the matters, what's the most important thing among this of document. So we know exactly what is the offense, what is the impact, what the specific violated regulation, and what is the court decision, like what is the verdict basically, which language that can easily understand by everyone. And also we can do several analysis, like when we check of the court decision, they seem that the judgment, factual narrative, and the legal recitals largely mirror the prosecutor indictment verbatimly. So anything being by the prosecutor, like the judge just copy paste everything on the court decision. So using this technology, we can know exactly which pages that relevant that we can go further investigate as the journalist came in. That's it. Thank you very much.
Hello? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm introduced. I'm Francis Ochoa from the Inquirer, and I'm here to talk about our own AI initiative. Before I get into it, I think why we're doing what we're doing is also important, and how we started it is as important as the products itself. So how did we start? Basically, when the bosses asked two of us, the business editor and I, to handle an AI integration project for our newsroom. And you have to understand that where we're coming from, the Inquirer is one of the biggest newspapers in the country that's deeply rooted in tradition. So to ask to actually lead an AI initiative is like someone telling you to pick up a piece of fat, juicy steak and saying, could you please feed the tiger, right? So the tiger is trained, don't worry, it knows that it's good that it's only gonna eat the steak. And you know that the tiger is only gonna eat the steak, but you're still gonna have second thoughts about actually stepping into the cage. So we had to address two problems for that. The first one was, what part of our process as a print platform is a pain point, and how could we use AI to intervene and make things easier for them? So we were talking about an intervention to make it clear that the tools are supposed to help them. And two, how do we sell AI to a legacy newsroom strongly tethered to its rich tradition? So those are the two main questions that we had to answer. And of course, wait. Huh? Wait, sorry. Sorry. No. It's the same problem, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so we came up with the concept of having elves. AI as newsroom helpers, and to make sure that people understood that we are not out there to replace anybody's job or take anybody's job, but to make it easier for them. And the easiest way to sell it to a print platform was these costume bots would help us meet deadlines better, which has been a constant problem for us. So we have 4 working elves right now. One is basically something that turns press releases into stories that we could give off to reporters so that they can have an idea of what to pursue for the day. And then the other 3 are data elves. Basically, these data elves are used to go through different forms of statistics like financial statements, stock market reports, surveys and elections, and election results, and analysis for game statistics. So it depends. We had to create a specific bot for a specific desk so that it does not crowd the bots too much and force them to hallucinate a lot. So one of the things that we did, for example, for the news editor's data elf, is that we had recently the midterm elections in the Philippines for 12 Senate seats, and while the newsroom was busy covering the elections, there was a small group, a really, really small group. In fact, there were only 2 of us, so basically just enough to qualify as a group. So there was this small group that ran the bot in the background just to test how it works. And one of the results that we got was, by the time 50% of the votes were counted at around close to 8 p.m., the bot had already made a prediction on which 12 senators would make the list. So that was a big win. In fact, I was trying to convince people that maybe we should start putting out this kind of content as a graphic or perhaps on our socials. But none of the bots are still public facing because we still have to complete our AI guidelines. But to have something that works to have something that actually worked for us during the elections and showed that it could do something like predict based on just the numbers and the historical trends of elections in the past was an eye-opener for us. Then, right now, those bots are already in development. We passed them off to our IT department because the next step is for them to turn this into a singular toolkit that we can distribute to our journalists and editors and have it available for them to be able to use it right away. So the questions that we are now facing is, should we turn it into an app or a web interface or integrate it into the CMS? And that's where we're caught up right now. But while we're doing that, we understand that AI is becoming stronger. It's becoming more prevalent. So how do we use the developments and improvements to our advantage? So while that is happening on the side, we are already, we are starting to form, again, a very small group, 3 people this time, to decide on what to do next. We understand, for example, that a few years from now, AI search is going to overtake traditional search. And for us, that's a big development because ever since Facebook, Twitter changed their algorithms, and that used to be the main source of referrals for our traffic. And now that we worked so hard to get the Inquirer top of mind for traditional searching, and then now it's gonna shift to AI searching. So we are slowly developing bots that will help us. I know it was a very point of contention yesterday, but we are trying to craft bots that will help us attract, for lack of a better word, AI searches so that it will hopefully lead readers to our site. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, the last presenter always feel the pressure. Okay. Okay, selamat siang. Hello everyone. I am Omar from KG Media. It's an honor for me to be here at CTRL+ APAC Jakarta. So in the 5 or 6 minutes, let me share briefly about how KG Media, with its long legacy in journalism, has embraced AI responsibly and impactfully. So actually we started our AI early with machine learning content recommendation based in 2014, and to launch customer data platform in 2019, because we know that without data, we never harness the power of AI into our company. So, and then in 2022, we started reinitiated the machine learning because we know that there is a rising of the LLM and so on and so on. And in 2023, we entered the generative AI by such as content summarization, AI news anchor, or newsroom automation. And now actually we are advancing our AI with our multimodal, because we know that we have built our capability in not only in text, but also video, audio, image, and etc. And also we try a lot of things related to agentic AI to help our editorial to make their work faster, easier, but always maintaining the ethic journalism and so on and so on. And maybe the thing that we want to share is, it's not only about the adopt AI, but in KG Media, we ensure that we have to align with the journalism. We have to empower the journalism. We have to empower the team. And for sure, we have to make the media itself for the greater goods for the public interest. So if we want to summarize all the efforts in AI, our AI journey, there are 3 categories in this session. So the first one is about how AI can help us for the editorial to make a greater growth for the peace journalism. And then the second one is about how AI can enable us or can help us in finding or exploring new opportunities of the business. And the last one is about how AI can help us in making our products stay relevant across young generation. So this is all of the three missions with AI. And then we want to, this is the peace journalism. Because we understand that in this digital era, maybe everyone here feel that the information is very full of noise, full of bias. And we in KG Media, we don't want to be part of the problem. So the thing is, at KG Media, especially in the sensitive or critical periodic such as presidential election, at KG Media, we use AI to monitor all the content that published by the editorial. We have to monitor about for every candidate how many number of the publication, what is the sentiment towards the candidate, and so on and so on. So then we can make sure that our editorial team are responsible for all the information that going to the public. So by using this AI, actually we can make sure that our journalism still balanced in terms of the proportional exposure, and also we promote the peace journalism. So this is one of the cases of the AI that we do in our editorial newsroom. And then the second one is about our audience. So we know that in this era, everyone very comfortable with social media. They just scroll it. It's very difficult for them to stay 1-2 seconds for reading the information, right? So basically, we launched Baca Cepat. We got Best Innovative Digital Product in One Infra in 2024. So Baca Cepat is actually the initiative to scroll, catch, and stay informed. We summarize the content and we deliver to our audience. So, and it's actually proven that by using Baca Cepat, we have achieved like 5 times higher in user engagement. So it also a proof that AI can help us in media to stay relevant, to stay true with our audience, to make them stay in our product. And then the last one, maybe this is like the ultimate one, is Lestari. Lestari is our KG Media commitment to accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. So basically, the idea is like in every publisher in KG Media, there is a section that focus on how for each article belongs to which SDG. So if you can imagine, without AI, we have to label all the data that coming from our editorial. It's almost 1,000 articles in a day. So I think it's very impossible for us to hire a lot of people to do that. So through AI, actually, we have built an automatic system to label all the articles that coming from our editorial into our production. And then through this initiative, the result is this one. We classified over 1.7 million of articles, cumulative, but real time every day right now. And then we have saved like 30,000 man-hour annually. And then the revenue from Lestari is about 8.2 billion in 2024. And in 2025, we have a lot of things related to Lestari. So in closing, in KG Media, we believe that AI, I think we should not fear, AI should not be feared, but we still need to be guided. So AI need to be guided by the editorial. We don't want to replace all the editorial newsroom. And then at KG Media, we aim to show that the legacy publisher can embrace the AI, can use the AI to amplify the trust, not dilute it. And I think that's all from me. Thank you, and I'm happy to share and connect with you guys.
Thank you so much to all our speakers. So what we'll try to do is we're actually running out of time. So in the interest of giving everyone opportunity to ask questions. We'll take perhaps about 3 to 4 questions max, and then we'll cut short the coffee break to like the last 10 minutes, so then you can just go out, grab your coffee, come back, and then we can start promptly at 4 for the next session. So if any of you have questions right now, we'll open it up. Please introduce yourself and mention your question, and let us know which of the speaker are you actually directing your question to. So we'll take the first one. Yes, Helena. Is there a second one? Followed by Pradita, and then we'll have J-Mar after that. Yep. Helena, yes.
Hi, I'm Helena from BBC Media Action. I have questions to Eshwaren, if I'm saying that correctly. My question is about human gatekeeper. When and how do you deploy the human gatekeeper to ensure your journalism's vibe, as you say in that?
Maybe just to clarify, we are not the newsroom. Avatar is not the newsroom. For example, Tempo is. So it's basically, with Atlas, we are trying to achieve how to create content easily and repeat those content in an automation workflow much easily. That is the scope of the software. But the gatekeeping is decided by the newsroom itself. Do you want to validate or verify the content that is produced by Atlas after that before you publish? That is then up to you. So the moment you copy paste into your CMS and it goes off to the internet, this is where the newsroom practices and the human in the loop comes in. But again, the question of verifying the content that is generated by AI, to us, specifically from a software point of view, it is still an AI problem, which means that AI has to verify content that is generated by AI. But that sort of AI is going to be one that takes it a bit more energy, and it probably takes a bit longer time, and has more reference materials for it to verify that content. So there is an attempt to also automate that process, verification process, maybe up to 90–95%. And then the accountability still has to be from the human point of view.
Okay, got the point. Thank you.
Yes, Pradita.
Hi, my question is for Mas Omar from KG Media Group. So I want to ask whether the tech team at KG Media serves all the different media publishers. There's Kompas ID, there's Kompas.com, there's Kompas TV, and all the others. Is it one tech team for serving all of that? And I have another question for Mas Omar and also Mas Arkka. What's the composition of the tech team compared to the newsroom and the business team? So we can see the proportion of resources invested in tech in your newsrooms.
Oh, okay. In KG Media, actually, in KG Media, we have a lot of publishers, Kompas.com, we have Kompas ID, it's also confusing, Tribun News, and so on and so on. The thing is, actually, for the tech team, this is centralized in the corporate level in the KG Media, and then it serves all the needs of the technology in the newsroom, in the sales, in the ads, and etc. etc. So even we also in our technology there is a SEO team, right? We put the team in the editorial in the newsroom in order to make them feel and knows the real problem that being faced by the newsroom. Actually, this is how we can connect and engage with the stakeholder in order to the technology that we solve, the technology that we build is solving their problem, not only in our assumption. And the second question is about the proportion, yeah. Maybe Mas Arkka can add more. Maybe in KG Media is maybe I can say exactly see, but the proportion is the tech team is not bigger than the newsroom team actually, because the content itself, our content is article, right? Article, audio, video, and so on. So the main team is the newsroom. The technology is helping and enabling the newsroom. So the proportion may be like one compared to 4, something like that. Maybe like 25%. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. In the context of HukumOnline, when we say the content team, we have two big separation. So within the content team, there is a journalist and the legal analyst. So in total, if we compare that number, the content team with the tech team, actually currently almost the same in some sense. But back again is something that not a recipe, whether this is also need to be followed on different media, because it's also a different context maybe. And maybe for HukumOnline, because we see that the more we adding value in terms of the technology and make a new product and can getting a lot of revenue. So we see that among the tech team, actually we divide the team to two tribe, I can say. The first one is, we call it a guardian. So it's like operational, like maintaining everything that's been there and do some incremental. And the half of it is more R&D and like finding new ideas and etc. So basically, that's how we compose the team.
Thank you, Arkka. So yes, Jema.
Hi. Thank you for your enlightening presentations. My question are for the two editors on the panel. I'm curious about how your journalists are reacting to your AI projects, and was there violent reactions, and how did you get them to adopt your solutions?
Okay, actually, it's not our journalists who are hesitant about using AI. Many of journalists welcome the use of AI, especially for translation. We translate a lot from other articles, other articles in Malay or Chinese, and we usually need them like within seconds. So the translation with AI has been really very good for us. Okay, the hesitancy to use AI has been unfortunately, among the editors actually, because many of them are, how do I say it, old, and are reluctant to change actually, and they are also, I think, there is a fear that they will be replaced, especially if you're just editing and a copy. And I think a ChatGPT can do it faster, and more accurate. So yes, we need to change the mindset on our newsroom, but it won't be from the journalists. Actually, it's from among the editors.
Hello. Thankfully, the tiger did not bite back. It was kind enough to accept, but yeah, there were some. That was a clear word. That was a clear worry for us. And but like I said, branding the AI tools as something that was more helpful than replacing, right? Really helped ease the worries of a lot of editors. And in fact, the resistance was just mild. There were just a few more questions, and I think one of the main problems, in fact, we had when we introduced the project itself was there was a sense of over-eagerness. And I didn't know that would become a problem. Like, once we presented the custom bots, there was like, okay, can you do one that does crossword puzzles? Can you do one that does comics for free? So the enthusiasm was great, but of course, it can be a little bit distracting. So it was just a matter of tempering expectations and all. But we're really glad that the resistance was not as strong as I expected it to be.
Right, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Well, there's a lot. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. Do we have? Can we cut down coffee to 5 minutes? Organizer, is that okay? No. Okay. I've been told no. So I do have a. Can I be selfish and ask one question myself? I'm very curious. I do have a question for Omar. So like, I think it's great that you're tracking the number of mentions, especially during elections. But are you tracking whether those articles are biased towards any one politician or political party as well? Is your tool good enough to track that and detect that?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Actually, our intention is we want to make sure that the editorial newsroom, the editorial team is not have any alliance to any parties or any presidential candidate, so that every single article need to be guided. And how we guide it is we have how we call it the committee, the steering committee of the editorial, and then they build the guideline. And then this guideline is embedded into the system. So in the guideline, we make sure that the article not biased to the. For example, for these parties is always good, always positive, and so on and so on. So and then we have to, and then we also have like content quality scoring. Content quality scoring means that if this is also positive, for example, for presidential candidate, but we have to make sure that the journalism ethics, the information is balanced. There is a sources, there is a valid sources that need to be embedded in the article, so that we make sure that all the published article has been guided by the machine. But the machine, the way the machine works is based on the editor, the steering committee guideline. So this is the thing that we are doing, for making sure the content is not biased or promoting something not balanced in the newsroom. Yeah.
All right, thank you.